Hey folks, it is I. Going to forego the usual sound checks and such because we're a bit thin on the ground and I could be waiting a while for a response. So let's just plough on, shall we? Salastar, I see you've been. Oh, hello, Salastar. How are you doing? So there's an indication that you can actually hear me, so that's good.
Heresy.
Okay, I can see me. Presuming you can see me as well. Put my glasses on. I'll be able to see more. It's Wolf Corgi. Hello, Wolf Corgi. How are we doing? Right, so we're going to follow on from last episode, because it wasn't last week, was it? It was the week before. Where I've been working on this guy. And I'm just going to put some finishing touches on him. Do a bit of weathering and do the plasma weapon. All I've done so far on this guy is to apply a little bit of Procryl Ball Titanium White. If you haven't got this in your painting repertoire, I would suggest it. This is probably the best white I've come across. A little bit, a bit of a tricky cap to get used to, but I found that if you demonstration how to use Procryl caps, you sort of unscrew it like that on a bit. You're always going to get a little bit left over on the top. Not much you can do about that. Now, first instinct is to use it like any other drop of paint and do it that way. But I found if you hold it right upside down, just gently squeeze it, you'll get very little left over on the top. You're always going to get a bit, like I say, but much less than you would do if you were doing it that way. There we are. Started off with a tip. Okay. Let's get everything I need together. There's my rag, my model. What else do I need? Paint. Got bits of paint. That's good. Some sort of paintbrush would be good. He looks worthwhile. That's a 1. That's a decent size for what I want to do. Now, I can't remember in the last episode whether or not I applied an oil wash to this. It doesn't look like I have. Can anyone remember? Hey, monkey. Thanks for dropping by. I think I just went in with the brown sauce on this one, didn't I? I didn't actually do an oil wash, so I will do an oil wash on that, because that will make it look like the other ones on the squad, which is good. It has been a long time. What was I doing last week? Oh yes, I was striking for fair pay. Yeah, that's what I was doing. And it took a lot out of me. So, yeah, I thought, best just go to sleep and leave it a week. So I did. I didn't sleep for a week, obviously, but you know what I mean. Yeah, these things do tend to take a lot out of me. Right, okay, so first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a bit of chipping on this guy, I think. Chipping with Space Marine / Terminator armor is a little bit different. I tend to work on the assumption that what's underneath is ceramite, and that's not a metal. So I usually use something like Administratum Grey, which is coincidentally around about the same as bare plastic. That's a little scratch there. So that is actually the bare plastic. But before we do that, I'm gonna have to get out Old Faithful and start the chipping process. Give that a good shake. Pop it open. So I don't know whether I'll actually use this. Oh, I might. What we want to do with this is we're looking towards the edge of the armour. I need a smaller brush actually. 5 zeros, that'll do. Or will it? No, that's dead. Three zeros. That will in fact do. And we're just looking at the edges of the armour here. So get a bit of paint on the brush. Whereas what I'd do with something larger is I'd get a little bit ripped off sponge or something and just do a few dabs around the edges. You have to be a little bit more controlled with the smaller scale miniatures. And you're just looking around the edges. There's a little bit of paint on there. Just take the excess off, move it into the camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. Just on the edges of the armour. Start putting little spots of the paint. Because it's a contrast paint and it is sort of semi-translucent and transparent, you'll get, it'll add something to the effect. So anywhere the arm's going to take a bit of a beating, so around the base of the leg plates is good as well. Just adding the old random spot here and there, making shapes. And this is quite a, or can be quite a therapeutic process as well. Like meditation. Already we're starting to get a little bit sort of a chipped effect around the edge there. And you'll notice some of these chips are bigger than others, and we'll revisit them in a minute. You can do as little or as much of this as you want, really. If you want your Terminator to really have seen the wars, you can do loads of chips and scratches, or just the odd one here and there where he might have taken a knock. I'm going to go sort of halfway between the two, I think. So these guys are sort of mid-campaign. And there's just not a painting servitor around when you really need one, ultimately. So you will see a little bit of damage to the paintwork. Chips around the edges. And what this does is it just adds another little level of interest and realism to the model, if that's what you're going for. What it also means is you don't have to worry too much about edge highlighting, which is another benefit to doing it. So, having just checked my delivery tracking, I've got some Elocidian Star Striders on the way, which is the Rogue Trader box set, so I'm looking forward to getting them. They should be arriving tomorrow. They seem to time it so well because I'll be in the office tomorrow, so I might not be able to take the delivery. So anyway, by Saturday I should have them. I'm looking forward to painting them. Some really interesting models. I would dearly love them to do more of that side of things, lean into the inquisitorial retinues and the rogue trader retinues a bit more than they actually do. Get back to their roots, as it were. I think they've almost, for my tastes anyway, lent too much into the to the war game, the large scale war game side of things, and they've lost their small skirmish roots from Rogue Trader. And even with the advent of things like Kill Team, they've not really brought back Rogue Traders or inquisitorial warbands or anything like that. Or they've not made a thing of them. The Elocidian Star Striders was of course made for was in fact made for Rogue Trader. Kill Team. Hey Chris, how are we doing? This is actually quite a lengthy process, this, but it's effective. If you wanted to speed this up, you could use the sponge, I think. It's just I'm trying to be a bit more precise about it. But with the sponge technique, you'll end up with an awful lot more blotches around the place. Late, Chris? Late? Well, you haven't missed much because we started late. You've only missed like a quarter of an hour, and I haven't really done anything. So you're not late. Just don't do it again. What, you think I do this for my own amusement? Yeah, so there's like little blotches around the place. This butt plate is a good place to put the chipping. It's good and obvious there. Yeah, keeping track of Wednesdays is a problem. I find myself struggling sometimes. I forgot how many days there were in February on day as well. So yeah, that was fun. So having a chat with one of my colleagues at work about the timing on one of my projects, and they mentioned that the cut-off wasn't the 1st of March, it was the 28th of February, and it just didn't click, and I thought, hang on, 28th of February, what about the other days in February? And I thought, well, and it just didn't click. For some reason I thought there were 31 days in February. Yeah. So yeah, I felt funny. Call it a senior moment, shall we? Right. I think he's plenty chipped enough. Maybe a bit around the top of the power fist as well, just to sell that. So we'll close that. Oop. Right. What idiot did indeed design that calendar? Pope Gregory. Pope Gregory did it. In the long time ago century, yeah. I'm just going to sort out that actual chip as well. Just put a bit of paint around it, just so it actually sells as being deliberate when it wasn't. I've never had to use the Julian calendar, so I wouldn't know. I'm old, but I'm not that old. Right, so this is Administratum Grey. I'm just getting a little bit on the tip of the brush, like so. And all those slightly bigger chips, what we're going to do is we're just going to come in and blob a little bit of Administratum Grey just inside those chips, so it looks like there was an undercoat and then the bone coloured paint, but the underlying material is grey ceramite. So, do you see?
I don't know that.
Huh? Oh, that was my Amazon personal assistant chiming in there. There's a pet peeve. Hey, MyRH. There's a pet peeve of mine I have noticed lately. I tend to listen to the radio a lot, particularly LBC in the UK, while I'm working. And I've noticed a lot of the adverts have this tendency to trigger trigger smart speakers as part of the advert, which I think is deeply insidious and irritating. Domino's are big for it as well. Domino's pizza. I say, well, if you want to order a pizza, all you have to do is say, personal assistant name, open Domino's. because they've used the trigger word for the smart speaker, that's exactly what the smart speaker does. I'm sure there should be some sort of law against it. Well, there would be if I was in charge. I'd be an absolute tyrant. But things would be done right, damn it. According to my angry old man brain. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going round where there was a large blob of the Garagax sewer. Just putting a little blob of Administratum Grey, just to sell it as a deeper chip. It's a really subtle effect, but it does come across. Because, you know, although I do paint for the tabletop, and I generally tend to think that if it looks okay from arm's length, which this does kind of, it's okay for the table, and it is. But every now and again you'll get someone picking up your miniature and having a close look at it, and you want it to kind of stand up to that kind of inspection as well, if possible. Otherwise there's a little bit of a disappointment. You pick up a nice looking miniature and it's not actually that nice close up. It's a little bit of a sort of a... No, I've never ordered pizza accidentally, thankfully, but you know, the night is young. Quite excited with the direction that smart speakers are going at the moment. Actually, excited and worried in equal measure. I really ought to be talking about 40k and AOS and things, because that's exactly what it says on the description of the video. So, if anyone's got those sorts of questions, otherwise I'll just keep rapping about smart speakers and what it is like to live as a man in his late 40s in the UK, which I'm sure is fascinating to nobody but me. But yeah, ChatGPT is what I'm playing around with at the moment a lot. I'm thinking, because I know they've released something called Google Bard, which I've also signed up for, and they're looking at integrating that with smart speakers. So at some point in the not too distant future, you should be able to have, in theory, a reasonably convincing conversation with your smart speaker. Just before they bring down humanity and the rise of the robots begins. '10th edition or Space Hulk tomorrow? It could be either, couldn't it? I think the safer money's probably on 10th Ed. At least the precursor, the first announcement of it. So we'll, because it's Adepticon coming up, isn't it? So what we'll see probably is an announcement of, or at least a heavy leak, heavy sort of hint at the coming of 10th Ed, because we all know it's coming. So we'll see that announcement, and then at the upcoming Warhammer Fest, which is in May, I want to say, May, in Manchester. We'll see some more details So that would be cool. And then we can all get really excited about it, put in our pre-orders, and not see them till November. Because that's how that'll work. Megan? Is that a film or a series or? Or a cat? Oh, oh. Okay, so we're nearly done with the administratum grey. And it does just add a little bit of extra sort of depth and interest and weathering, so we like that. Okay, now I can't remember if let's let's leap in straight and do it. Alright, okay, so what we're going to do, you've probably seen me do this before a million times. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to give this a quick blast of varnish. Stand by your beds. Giant gong? What would I hit for that? I can't imagine what I would have hit for that, but if there was a strange sound effect, I do apologise. Right, okay. There. There's that. There is my white spirit, because it handily says white spirit on the top. I will need. I have taken to doing this. Just leaving my airbrush in a glass of water and isopropyl when not in use, which should, in theory, help keep it clean. So I'm just going to assemble this, pop on the compressor. I feel like you've only just got your 9th edition Demon Codex. Well, you have only just got your 9th edition Demon Codex. It's only just come out. Well, pretty much. But this is generally the way they do it. I'm surprised there hasn't been a second Space Marine Codex before the release of 10th. Film. AI bot made to be companion but ends up killing people. Keep people safe. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I can relate to that. Right, okay, so what I was going to do is I was going to get a bit of satin varnish, pop it in my paintbrush. Still trying to think what that gong might have been. No. 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 Oh well. Whatever it was. So that's as clean as it can be. Ooh. That was nearly tricky. Okay, problem solving, what I want. Now, problem solved. You wouldn't think pliers would be useful in this hobby. However, Whereas it was written and scrapped as other releases were moved around. What, the second Space Marine Codex? I mean, yeah, I can understand why it might seem unfair, but if you have a look at the World Eaters Codex and many of the later codexes, like the Demon Codex, they're usually made with the next edition in mind, so you won't be suffering too much from old codex syndrome, at least until the new codexes start really dropping in and the codex creep begins again. So this is just a quick spritz with satin varnish, just to lock in what's here and give something for the oil to flow over. Normally I'd use gloss, but I don't want that finish on the Mini, so satin is a sort of a halfway house between a matte and gloss. And the more matte a varnish is, the more it will grip the oil wash, which is not entirely what we want. So a satin is, again, a decent halfway house. So just take this off my airbrush now. There we go. Pop that back in there. Give it a bit of a scooch. And move that over there. Oh, it might have been that. Is that it? All close? Yeah. Right. So I'm just going to give that a quick blast with my hairdryer. So I'm just going to turn my microphone off for a moment. Right. Ah, yes, Wolf Corgi. I wouldn't be at all surprised. I don't claim to have any sort of extra insight into the goings on at Games Workshop, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. It's sounding from the various rumours that there's going to be a significant enough change in between 9th and 10th to sort of make that almost necessary. So we'll see what comes. Exciting times, I think. Exciting times. I'm looking forward to it. What's that? Where's a dry brush? I better not leave that there. Put it over there. Okay. Synthetic brush. Little paint carafe thing. And we're going to get some oil paints. We've got some burnt umber there. And some ivory black. So we need a little bit of ivory black. Meep. What's that? That's one of them. Okay. I shall put that with the other ones of them. There. And I might paint ones of them in a bit, because we're going to be done with this guy fairly soon, I think. And then this is burnt umber. Want ever so slightly more of that. So that's maybe 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5, something like that. We're going to use white spirit as a thinner. turn that, mix those paints together. Into a darker sort of burnt umber wash. Not quite there with the wash consistency yet. So that's about right. You're getting a little bit of coverage, maybe a little bit still too thick, maybe a little bit more spirit. So we're getting a little bit of coverage. But, I guess it behaves a little bit like contrast paint, but don't think in those terms because that's not how it will behave on the model. So, with that, just dab it onto the miniature, like so. So you're perhaps wondering why an oil wash and why not a regular wash, because they behaved differently. You can move an oil wash around a lot more easily than you can an acrylic wash, and they tend to go into the recesses a lot better and generally behave a lot better than acrylic washes. And I just like the finish on them. I think they leave a good grimy finish. I'm just going to hit up that weapon as well. Perhaps need a bit more black in there actually, looking at it, looking at how it's coming out. So maybe 1 to 1.5 is a little bit off. We actually needed to do it. Maybe 1 to 1. It's not a precise art. No, it should be, but it's not precise art because I'm involved. I'm one of those, yeah, it looks about right sort of chaps. And yeah, it does look sort of about right. Until it suddenly doesn't. Yeah. Okay, so that's a bit darker. You notice I'm avoiding the white where possible. I thought I'd be able to avoid it in the recesses there, but no. Well, that looks nothing like a Deathwing now. Looks like a Death Guard, if anything. But strange things happen when you use makeup products. And the makeup product I'm about to use is the one I can't find. Oh, do you know what? If I was ever prepared for one of these live streams, it would be brilliant. Oh, there we are. These things, I don't know what they're for. What are they for? I don't know. I know what I use them for, and that's this. I don't know what they're for, I don't know what they're called. When I look for them on Amazon, they're called makeup sponges on sticks. That brings them up. And you grab this, you sort of give the model a once over. Eyeshadow. See, I knew someone would know. I didn't know. I have never used these for eyeshadow. I have worn eyeshadow. I'm not squeamish about saying so. In my younger days, I was a goth. I wore eyeshadow. I didn't use these though. So you see what that's doing with the miniature. It's leaving the oil in the recesses. You get a lot more control about where the paint is and where the paint isn't if you use oil, because it's got a longer drying time on it. And you can really push it around a bit more than you can with the acrylic washes. So that's why I do it. And it is a tried and tested, because it gets right in there, you see. You can see a nice, rich, deep, shadowy effect. Gets used a lot in grimdark style painting. Catch you later, Corgi. Thanks for dropping by. See you in the next one, hopefully. Just give the weapon a once over as well. Again, avoiding that plasma coil where possible. There we go. And the thing is, if you want to get an even lighter effect, excuse the blurry cat. It does have autofocus on it, but I don't use autofocus because it seems to focus on everything but the mini. If you want a lighter area on that, you add a bit of white spirit to your sponge. It goes all blodgy like that. And then where you want the lighter bit, you can add the extra bits of highlight by going over it with white spirit. And it just takes even more of that oil wash off. You've got to be careful. A little bit careful, because it can start to bring the actual paint off the mini. But because we've done this the way we have, even if you do end up rubbing the paint off, it's grey underneath, so you'll end up with another bit of chipping. So it's not the end of the day. However, that happy fact is fairly unique to Space Marines and other sort of ceramite constructions. So yeah, it pays to be a little bit careful with the white spirit. There we go. And already you're starting to get that pop on the weaponry there. Super deep, super cool looking. There we go. I'll pop that over the side, or I will no doubt knock it later and it will go everywhere. rinse of the brush with my cloth. There we go. Put that over there. Pop the lid on the white spirit. Pop that well out of the way, because I don't want to be making a mistake I often have made before, which is to get my water squidgy thing, which looks like that, without white spirit written on it, and my white spirit thing, which looks like that, with white spirit on it, and get the two mixed up, because never the twain. Okay, normally I would leave that to dry for a few hours. I haven't got a few hours, so again, off with the microphone for a moment. And off. Right, okay, not perfect, close enough for government work. Okay, let's go. So what are we going to do next? We are going to start doing the plasma coil, I think. For that, and this is why I was messing around with the titanium white, we will need some titanium white. So we will also need now, shall we go with Ethermatic Blue for the glow? Do you know what? I think I'm leaning towards that, because the alternative would be something like Pilar Glacier, which would be more sort of traditional. But I think, because of how I've done the power weapons and things on the other Deathwing minis, I think I might go in with Ethermatic Blue. So an Ethermatic Blue glow like that, which I think will look quite cool. This is done very hastily, we can do better than that. But this is super simple. I started off by getting a brilliant white and just blocking in the plasma coils. If you look closely, what you can see is there are ridges, and what we're looking to do is get a nice thin brush. No, I said easy, didn't I? I did say easy. Alright, we'll do it the easy way. Right, okay. Ethermatic Blue. And we're just going to create a little bit of OSL glow, so we're going to get a little bit on that of that on the wet palette. Now you wouldn't ordinarily put contrast on a wet palette, but well, you just wouldn't ordinarily put contrast on a wet palette, but I've got nowhere else to put it at the moment. Needs must. And we're just going to block in and get some filtering done with the where the glow would be around the edge of the weapon. So on his hand there. Maybe we don't need it diluted as much as I thought. And all around where the glow is, just going to filter and put that blue filter on there. And this is how you get the glow effect. Translucent paints. Contrast paints are brilliant for this, or some of them are. Don't trust them all because they all behave differently, but things like Ethermatic Blue are translucent enough that they're good for this sort of thing. So what we're doing is we're just building up a little bit of a bluish glow around the. We're not going on the white yet, if we can avoid it. A little bit of a bluish glow around the edge of the coils. And again. We're not being neat about this at all, really, or at least we're not trying to be particularly neat. Contrast paints will do a lot of the work for you. Once you get used to doing these using these contrast paints, you can make them turn all kinds of tricks. Make an awful lot of sense yet, but it will. But it will. Just around the edge of the contrast paint again with the more watered down version of the paint. Just to spread that glow out a little bit more. I mean, I can see on the camera it's already looking a little bit sort of glowy. That's good. Right, okay, so we get a little bit of dab of that. And this is where the titanium white comes in. A little bit of that mixed in. I'm just going to grab that dry brush. I hope we're not going to get some red bleeding into that. We will, probably will. Let's give it a quick. Pick up a little bit of that. Give it a once off on the dry brush palette. You don't need a special dry brush for this, you can do this with a regular brush, just to be a bit more careful about it. I'm just going to pick out, brushing outwards from the white, Just going to lighten up that glow. Don't be afraid to go a little further afield with this as well, like onto that raised area at the back of the gun here, because you're going to get light spilling off this in all sorts of, well, generally linear directions ultimately, but it's going to go quite a way. So, outwards, catching all those raised areas and edges, and again on the other side, outwards. You can even throw a little bit of this on the Marine's leg. Because that's going to catch a little bit of it too. Done that. Let's get a little bit more of the thematic blue, because we haven't got the tone quite right yet. CMRH, take care. Just give it a super light brush over the top. The effect should be, if you can see, is you're leaving the titanium white in the recesses of the coils, and the outer coils are getting picked out in a slightly darker colour. Actually are getting a bit of red bleed out there, so let's give this brush a proper wash. It's looking better. Still a little bit. I think we might just have to work with that. Get some shampoo on it later and that'll sort it out. Mostly white. Outwards, catching those edges. Slightly falling afoul of trying to do this at speed here. I think we're picking up a little bit of the oil wash underneath, and it's making things a bit dirtier. Dirty is generally fairly good for grimdark, but if you're trying to get the plasma coils done in properly, it's not entirely what you want. Right, what we're going to do now is just stick a little bit of neat ethermatic blue around the edges. Like so. Maybe just go back in and darken some of the glow around the edges. Taking around the back of these vent things here, might need to be a little bit darker, but still have that blue showing through. If you can, with a super steady hand, just go back over and pick some of these. You're not going for the recesses, you're going for the raised areas.
Quick Moog, say something funny for me to listen to when I watch this tomorrow.
Say something funny. Well, just putting me on the putting under pressure. Thank you very much, Monkey. Thank you very much indeed. I will see. There will be something I've said that is funny on this live stream, so you won't miss out. Thank you very much. Oh, you know what I can do? No. Heresy. There we go. I don't even know if that went off. For those of you who don't know that, if that went off, I'm not even sure it did. Somebody can let me know. Come on, Chris, you're listening. Maybe it didn't work. It went off. There we go. That was our very March of War. Being very tired and very it got to that point after an awful lot of wargaming, and everyone was very tired and in a very silly mood, and then that happened. Because I think our Mr. James March is kind of enthusiastic about Horus Heresy. And he made that noise, and I thought, well, I need that for a ringtone, I just do. So he obliged me. And now that's my, it's not my ringtone, it's my WhatsApp message alert. we're starting to get that plasma glow now. And I'm sure you'll agree it's been fairly easy to accomplish. Just takes a little bit of a steady hand occasionally. But the blocking in of the glow is key. Around the edge of the aperture. Aperture's a big word, isn't it? Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. So when we get a copyright strike for me singing that now, but hey, whatever. This was a triumph. So, I'm just going around and around, just adding another filter to the edge of the glow, just to deepen the colour. Which serves to intensify the white. I think that looks plenty good enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go for some pure white. We're just going to hit up the closest edges. Side of the brush. This is an optional step with pure white, just to really sell that glow. Any edge that's facing the coils. It's a white edge highlight. What that does is it extends out that heat up, sort of searing plasma heat a little bit further. I'm just going to go in with some specular highlights on the tops of the vents here. Again, you don't need to go all around the edges, just the edges that is very closest to the plasma. There we go. I think we're getting somewhere as well, aren't we? I think we're getting somewhere. Do you guys think that you could pull this off? Genuinely, it's a genuine question. I'm not trying to sort of blow my own trumpet or anything like that, but if it's still looking like it might be a little bit too complicated, then I need to think about how I'm either I'm teaching it or come up with another technique, because I don't want anyone to leave this live stream thinking, well, you showed me a simple technique, but I really haven't got a clue, and I don't think I could do that. I want everyone to walk away from this live stream thinking I can do that. With the caveat that there's no panacea, no pill that you can take that will substitute experience. So some of these things you do just have to bite the bullet and practice. And there's no getting around that. But I think the technique itself is fairly accessible. Myself. What do you guys think? If you're not watching live, please do put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And heck, if you're on my Discord and you want to give this a go, I would be thrilled to see your own take on it, and whether it worked or not. If you want constructive criticism on it, I will give you constructive criticism on it. If you don't ask, I won't. That's generally how I work. A lot of people out there tend to think if you post something on the internet it's an invitation for constructive criticism. It's not. Somebody wants critique or help, they will ask. With practice and resources. What resources are you lacking? You should. Oh, you're short of paint, aren't you? Ah, yeah, that doesn't help. Stick a little bit more white in the middle there, just to really bring that out. I think we're almost done. A few more edges that are close to the glow, which I'm just going to hit up again with the white. Oh, you know what? I've missed out on that speculative highlight. I've missed the other side of the vent. Isn't going to be much, but that little spot will help sell it. Trying to get the light right so it's not in shadow. I'll do it on the other side. So right opposite where the one speculative highlight is, there's one on the inside of the other side. There we go. Subtle, but it's there. Oh, those bits. What am I going to do next? Okay, I'm going to pop that aside so I don't knock it over. There are these vent things here, which I'm going to fill in with titanium white. 2 to 4 per week. Oh, paints, yeah. That's not bad going. That's probably pretty helpful, in fact, because you get to think about what paints you actually need and buy those and just those. Otherwise, the temptation is to go out and buy a whole stack of stuff you'll never use. I've fallen foul of that. I've got potions and ointments and all sorts of things for all sorts of situations that I'll never use. And it's just a waste of money. I've got a massive box of Army Painter paints, which I have pretty much replaced with either Games Workshop or Vallejo, and I just don't use them anymore. They're good, well, they're decent enough cheap starter paints. If you want to buy a mega set, they're okay. But I've kind of moved beyond them now. It sounds distressingly elitist. They're good for what they are, which is a decent entry level paint. And to be honest, their speed paints are alright. I do still get on with their speed paints in the right circumstances, but like any other tool, you've got to use the right tool for the right job. And there are, I use a lot of the their blood red speed paint is fantastic. I use this a lot. It's a good stand-in for a more controllable blood for the blood god and all sorts of stuff. It's a really nice sort of blood spatter effect. It's a really nice deep red, actually. I wonder if is that? No, that's magenta. One of my squigs. Is it that one? It might be that one. Don't know whether it's that one. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. One of them. No way, no. One of them's painted with it anyway. And it's a really good red. Glad to hear you're back on with your squigs. Because you're having fun with them, aren't you? That's what it's all about. Squigs are a lot of fun to paint. I've put mine on the shelf for a bit because my enthusiasm for things sort of ebbs and flows. I'll get back into them at some point, but I'm not feeling the squigs at the moment. Not feeling my squiggy. That sounds filthy. Right, at this point I'm just fiddling. So what I will do now is, I was going around those vents, wasn't I? You distracted me, Chris. It's your fault. Distracted me with your paint buying antics. Yeah, I was going around these vents and just filling in the vent with titanium white. So you've got that kind of, do I really want to? So I'm just asking myself whether I want to fill in the barrel. I mean, it would make sense to do that, but I really can't be bothered. So I'm not going to. All those people who go, we haven't found the barrel, can just have to go, you haven't found the barrel. And I'll just have to put up with that, I think. Because they'll do it in exactly that voice. Exactly that voice. Because that's what those sorts of people sound like. You haven't painted the barrel. You haven't drilled out the barrel. No. I haven't drilled out the barrel, and yet I am still happy. And not posting that sort of stuff on the internet. Right. Okay, so that was a little bit of pylog ratio. You'll notice I use an awful lot of contrast paints, and that was just putting in the blue of the lamp there. A little spot of white there in the middle, just to make it super poppy glow. Oomph. Light on. Little speculative highlight on the lens there as well, just to make it super shiny. Don't be afraid of doing that sort of thing. Worst that can happen is you might have to do it again. Oh dear. Right. So the reason I was doing that is so I could go back in and do... Now, which way around do I want to do this? Oh, I know. Yes, I want the blue splodge on the outside. So towards one end of these blue vents, just going to add some contrast paint. I'm just going to give another quick filter around the end of the barrel. There we go. I'm just going to find myself fiddling with this. And if you find yourself doing that, that's fine. As long as it's enjoying it. I mean, that's more than adequate for the average table. More than adequate. And it was fairly, I think, fairly accessible a technique that you can pull off with a little bit of practice. What do you think of that? I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah, happy with that. Right, so there was one other thing I was going to do, and that was to get the gold put in, because he's got this Crux Terminatus on his belt and on his chest eagle symbol thing. So I'm just going to go over that with some Garagax sewer, because it's my base for all things metal. And there's belt buckle there. And my go-to gold with most things is Retributor gold as a base, and if there's any highlighting necessary I use that for the highlighting, which is Vallejo's Metal Killer Airbrush gold. But that's really light coloured gold. On the door. A knock on the door? How very dare you? I had to stop the entire stream for that. Bit of gold on there. The other thing I'm going to do with gold is there's a little line of contacts along the end of the wires here, and I'm just going to run gold along the top of them. Just to add a little bit of something else to it. You missed everything. It was really exciting, really exciting, and yet no, you had to go to the door. You missed it all. There were clowns and jugglers and acrobats and everything, but you missed it. Was it at least someone exciting on the door, like Jehovah's Witnesses or something? Judicious use of the thumb palette here, you notice. Yeah, I'm just fiddling at this point, I think. Well, how dare they come to you with dinner plans? How dare you they? How dare they? How very dare they? Don't they know I'm trying to run a stream here? Despicable. Tell them I'm not happy. It's a serious business we're doing here. So that's a little bit of olive flesh from Pro Grill, which is exactly the same ish as Wraithbone-ish. I'm using Pro Grill because the Pro Grill was there, and I don't actually like using the Wraithbone. It's the consistency I don't like, but it's the same colour. And all I'm going to do there is there's a little skull on his leg here. I'm just going to get the speculative highlights on that as well. Just give him a little bit of interest. There we go. And I know it runs until 9:30, doesn't it? It runs until 10 tonight because we started a half an hour late. Right. And we're just going to mix a little bit of that with a little bit of white. And although we went over this with an oil wash, we're just going to pick out... Okay, we're going a little bit high end here. This is sort of parade ready, I guess. Just pick out some of the extreme highlights. Again, just the speculative stuff on the very tips and very much raised areas, particularly on the helmet. Faces and bases, so they say if you want to sell a miniature as looking good, get the faces and bases right. And with Terminators, they've got a fairly distinctive helmet, so it pays to spend a little bit more. A little bit more time. Just making the helmets look, pop that little bit more. Giving them a little bit more attention. Ooh. Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. Right, okay. The other thing, of course, and this really is just finishing details. For a table finish, we finished hours ago. Really, well, an hour ago at least. So that's the contrast paint again. This is Imperial Fist, and then they've got a helmet light just at the top there. So we're just going to give it a good splodge of Imperial Fist. While it's still wet, I'm just going to get a tiny bit of dawn yellow, a tinier bit of dawn yellow, there we are, that's better. And just on the light, we're going to leave the glow in there from the contrast paint like we did with that. The dawn yellow on the light itself. And again, that's starting to pop and glow. And again, with the titanium white, whilst this is still wet. There. Suddenly he's glowing, got a glowing light on his hat. And who doesn't need a glowing light on their hat, I ask you? You show me someone who doesn't need a glowing light on their hat, and I will show you a liar. I think we're done. I think we're done. Are we done? Are we done? Oh, we want to do something with that as well, don't we? Oh, we want to write something on that, don't we, really? Let's get brighten up with some Wraithbone. Even though I suspect it's probably a bronze plaque or something. Just going to make that pop a little bit more. I'm going to reach for something which may or may not work. Because I haven't used one for a while. It's been sat there for a while. Because I don't. A spy hiding in the shadows. Yeah, they probably they probably don't. They probably don't. Oh, my uni days playing D&D and trotting off down the corridor as the scout with my torch, wondering why I was failing my head hiding shadows wrong. Oh, how young and foolish we were. Right. This is a .03 fine liner. It is a permanent marker with a tiny little nib. And on this, is this dry? Who does that? Is this dry? Poke, poke, poke. We are going to write his name, hopefully, which is... Oh, come on, work. If we can find one of these that works, it works a lot better. I bought 5 of them now, so law of averages. Nope. Oh, there we are. There's a mark on it. A bit of paper somewhere. Yeah. Well, these are rubbish. If you can get a good one, Sakura is a good brand of these, which these are sadly not, but Sakura do these and they do them quite well. So let's try these. Here's one that works. Here's one that works. 2 out of the 3 work. So put those to the side. Glad I closed the lid on that. Declare these. Make them sit in the corner. Think about what they haven't done. And we'll use the 2 that work to write his name. Which of course, for any self-respecting dark angel, has to be Bob. Oops. Right, what we're going to do with the last 15 minutes of this stream. I'm going to put this on its base. Bob is going on the base. Bob, the heavy plasma gunner. Oh, that's worrying. Oh, superglue, why you know. this is why we have things like this lying around, which is an old airbrush needle. I'm just going to give that a quick poke. Get the glue flowing again. Sorry, I ran out of hands there. I'm going to have to put the miniature in my mouth. Which, with super glue on the feet, was a really stupid idea, but that only just occurred to me as being a stupid idea. The last 3 minutes of this live stream would have sounded a lot like this. Okay. So he's now stuck to the base. Bob is done, except I have just noticed a thing which I'm going to rectify, and that is when I was doing the white spirit a bit earlier, I took a little bit off, a little bit too much off. So I'm just going to add a bit of the bone colour back in. Add in some point highlights as well, and I might as well. Dotted edge highlighting is the way of the future, by the way. If you spot in the edge highlighting rather than drag nice neat lines, you end up with a chipped effect. Which is really cool. Bob. Bob. Bob the Deathwing Terminator. Who may or may not be the 40k equivalent of Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. Now there's a song reference for you. Kids, go look it up. Roland the Headless Thompson. Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. One of the best songs about Belgian mercenaries operating in the Congo ever written. Not Belgian? No, he was Danish. Danish mercenaries operating in the Congo ever written. It's a populous. Why am I doing that? Popular subject for a song. Okay, right, let's do... I know. Let's paint a door. We've got like 15 minutes, so we might as well paint a door. You know what I mean? If in that, paint a door. Okay, right, so there's that. We're going to use a little bit of this. Now this is a big pot of essentially slightly thicker, come here, don't defy me, come here, slightly thicker that, for about much less of the price. Slightly thicker, a lot thicker. Oh, I shouldn't have shaken it. Oh, mistakes were made. Oh dear. Oh, that's messy. Right, okay. There we go. Get a dead brush, of which I have many, many, many. Big door. Not big door. It's all terminator sized. Okay, so this is a corrosion texture, so we're looking to areas where corrosion would be. I'm just going to add, this is not the final colour, this is just for adding, like, you know, texture. So around the base of the door, I'm just going to slap that on there. That's an oxygen canister of some sort. So I'll have some corrosion texture at the base there. Oh, it's just struck me, I haven't actually explained how I got to this point with the colour scheme. This is black spray paint with a zenithal of Army Painter. See, I do use Army Painter. A zenithal of Army Painter spray paint in necrotic flesh. I was going for that kind of Eastern Bloc Cold War kind of utilitarian machine green that they have fairly evident on a lot of things, and I think it kind of works. I did a colour test against some photos, and it's pretty much spot on. I also bought a Vallejo version of it as well, which is maybe slightly different colour, but it was, again, it was bob on for the photo. So happy days. So we're just going to spot this around, and I think it doesn't take too long to dry. You don't need much of it. Close that up, put it to one side, and then we're going to make use of that again. Put a lid back on this whilst we're using oils. Prevent accidents. But not forest fires, because only you can prevent forest fires. Only you. So all those forest fires that were raging in the United States last year, your fault. You didn't stop them. Okay, I need a little bit more white spirit. Where did I put that? Put it there, didn't I? Right, make that a bit thinner. Oh, come on. There we are. Good stuff. And And the effect we are desperately reaching for is, conveniently, on the other side of this, so we want it nice, dirty, mucky down. This is another one of those situations where oil washes come into their own, because you can just splash them on and they do the nasty. Just grime up really, really well. We love it. Love a bit of it. And that texture will kind of stay on there, which is kind of cool. So now we've got another bit here, so we've just got the oil wash, we might as well use it. Now you could, or perhaps should, use a much bigger brush for this, but things are as they are. This is the one I have, and this is what I'm using. There we are. Any more for any more? I think we've done all that side, haven't we? Yep. Yeah, there we go. Going to have to do a terrain piece next month. Probably will be next month. Next week, where I paint these up properly. But then I have done another live stream on grimdark terrain, and I use a lot of the same techniques. But then when I think about it, what else am I going to do? I'm running out of new and exciting things to paint. What would you like to see me paint? Come on, people. Either put it in chat, or if you're watching after I've stopped streaming, put it in the comments. What would you like to see me paint? Nothing at all is a perfectly acceptable answer, and I will take that on the chin. Well, yeah, I suppose the other bit of news is I may, or may not, have called my channel something else by the next time you watch this, because I had a little bit of a spat with Redgum about Redgum? Not Redgum. Redgum's an amazing band who you should check out, and I haven't had a spat with them. And wouldn't, because they're an amazing band. Red Bubble, who was selling my merchandise, such as it is, about my channel name, because they maintain that Moog's Little Figures is clearly trying to appropriate the brand name for Moog synthesizers and capitalise on that brand's success. So they shut my merchandise side down. Not that I was really selling any merchandise, but you know, it's the principle of this thing, I think, at this point. It's a little vanity project of mine. It's like the whole channel, I suppose. But so I will change the name of the channel to something that is not even remotely Horus Ascended. Yeah, right, good one. I need a few more subs for that. Not even remotely copyrighted, as far as I'm aware. But I will announce it in Discord. I will put it on Instagram and on my Facebook and everywhere I can think of. I will put it in the members. If there's a members section on the channel, there isn't a members section of the channel. There can't be a members section of the channel because I can't have members. But I'll put it in the notices section. I think there is a notices section to let everyone know. But you all should know, because most of my subs who actually watch the thing are in my Discord, or in Say Hi Paul's Discord, or in both. And they're subbed to my channel, so when the next video goes up, no matter what I call the channel, you'll be notified of it. I mean, it's almost done as is. But on top of that, you can put other weathering products like Dirty Down Rust and all sorts of stuff like that. You end up with something looking a bit more like this, which is super cool. So yeah, I think I'll do a whole segment on doing these board segments. A segment on doing segments. There we go. Just get everything off the raised areas and that. Wipe down. Close the door. Shut that door. And we'll leave that to dry because I didn't anticipate it being 10 o'clock. Moog's life. I will still be known as Moog. They're not taking that off me. But I've had the nickname Moog for quite a while, and not as long as Moog synthesizers, admittedly. But I've had it for long enough that I'm not prepared to just give up on it. But I won't be selling any merchandise under that name or marketing anything under that name. So I will probably henceforth be known as Blue Demon Brushworks. There was a poll. There was a poll on Instagram, and that was what came up top. A poll of two options. There was Blue Demon Brushworks and Acme Brushworks. I could have gone either way on them. I liked Acme for reasons. I liked Blue Demon Brushworks for reasons, but Blue Demon Brushworks won out. So that's what I will go with. And I'm so happy I didn't leave it completely open, because I would end up being called Channel Image Channel Face or something. And that would have made me sad. Although, Channel Image Channel Face is in fact growing on me now. I wonder if it's taken. Alright folks, thanks for dropping by. This is my finished miniature. I shall take a picture of it and stick it on Instagram and Discord and places. I hope you have many successes with that plasma technique. I made it as simple as I possibly could. I've added some embellishments to it. There is a really simple way of doing it, which is just putting the white and then putting the contrast paint round the edge of the white. Must be pointy brush come. So you just put the contrast paint round the edge of the white like that, and you don't bother with the glow or the white edge highlighting or anything like that. And that's perfectly adequate. I think I did that at the end of the last one. But yeah, that's done. Quite happy with that. 1 down, 4 to go. Yeah. Right, folks. Thanks for dropping by. As ever, if you're not already subscribed and liked and done all that sort of stuff, please do so. Go forth, be excellent to each other, be wonderful. Commit random acts of kindness to a perfect stranger and be a force for change in the world that's positive and good. Have fun out there, and ta-ta for now.